Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Bash_Bo3. And to our farthest right, per usual, is none other than Rex, ShadyNero. And guys, we got a lot to talk about today, of course, heading into a wild weekend of matchups, some of the best matchups we've had the whole season so far, with the week 3 heading into the stage 3 major. And my word, obviously some spicy roster changes. Seattle finally made a move. Only 2 teams remain in CDL that have not yet to make a move. And we're going to get into all of that and, of course, a lot more. But first, I got to ask, guys, what's going on?
Well, Josh, I am feeling like a Yeti climbing in the Alps. And I'm just out in the open on the snow-capped mountains, and I'm observing that there's just this one grand oak tree just growing at the top of the summit. I'm like, how'd this get here? But for some reason, I'm experiencing some spiritual entity that is just around here. Like, what's been going on? And all my fur is now just like really spiking up, like how you get goosebumps, but for a Yeti. and then all of a sudden, I hear in my ear, oh yeah. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's my Yeti ancestor speaking to me. I'm the one to rejuvenate my Yeti kind and bring us back into the population as a non-endangered species.
Man, the redemption of the species, Sam. You're right there with them.
Yeah, that's a whole story arc right there.
Yeah. I think so. Man, I mean, it's going to be as dramatic of an episode as the Yeti climbing the mountain. So watch out, folks, because we got a ton to talk about today. But man, you can listen to Apple Podcasts. You can listen on Spotify. You can watch on YouTube. You can drop a comment on YouTube. You can drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And today we got one to read. Sam, knock us out.
Just so happens that I have one.
Oh, wow, dude. No way.
Must listen. Okay, sorry.
Must listen.
The title is Must Listen for Competitive COD Fans by David Michael Maloney.
Oh,
Full name
Maloney.
right there. The boys do a phenomenal job on exploring the league's latest news and hot takes. They keep the vibes high throughout the daily discussion
Let's go.
with comical thoughts and comments.
Oh, okay.
Looking at you, Rex. If you are a fan of competitive COD, tune in every week. You won't be disappointed. Thank you, Michael Maloney.
Maloney. I agree. That's a good review. Quality stuff there, but thank you, homie. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one, man. I'm looking forward to it. There's going to be some spicy conversations here and a lot to go over. So, I mean, I guess we're just going to do no quick question again. We're on a roll of no quick questions.
On a roll.
And we're just going to go right into the news of the week.
Here we go.
The Call of Duty News of the Week.
Oh, yeah, dude. That's hot. That's hot. All right. So, do we really want to start out with the spicy of the week, or should we wait for the roster segment? Should we wait for the roster segment for the old Seattle news?
Let's keep them waiting.
Oh, okay. Sounds good to me. So, first off, the big news of the week is LAN for stage 4 is officially confirmed, though no fans, and there will be LAN for stage 5, and then hopefully for champs. This is thanks to Hex for leaking this during the OpTic pre-show. No, for shout
Always Hex.
Of course, always Hex. And so he said there is still a possibility that there could be fans at champs, which please, Call of Duty lords.
Yeah.
Come on, man, dude. I want to go so bad. But that's great, man. So we got to wait basically, another 5 weeks or so till our first LAN event. That is so sick.
That's
so
insane.
is this confirmed LAN?
I mean, Hex leaked it.
I mean, Hex said so yes.
Okay.
I'll go with it.
Right.
He said
he
didn't leak where it was going to take place yet, but he did hint at leaking it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means they might already have a destination chosen and probably set up and working on, ready to go. So, I mean, realistically, you'd imagine it's Dallas. But
for sure. I mean, what?
Probably.
Almost everyone's there now?
Right. It would only make sense, of course, you know. So, definitely good vibes to start off the show there, because you love to see some LAN coming our way.
How much do you think tickets are going to be? How many tickets? If they even
if for champs, I don't know, man.
It's going to be so few. Like,
I mean, it's August. It's like so much could change in the next 3-4 months.
Yeah,
it's like,
true.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
You know, do you think there's going to be? You think there's going to be like a vaccine? If you have the vaccine, you get entry, sort of thing.
I don't know. I'm not. It's hard to say. I mean, it probably depends on what state they do it in. right? I'd imagine it has to be just follow local state guidelines.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
I know-
but it's also
but it's
Activision.
also Activision. You're
So
right.
that, like, no
a
matter
Santa
what state-
Monica based company.
If I had to guess, I bet they're going to make you have a vaccine.
Yeah, because I know like Florida pretty much just said you can't, like one of their state rules is like you can't like force someone to show their vaccination card. To,
Okay.
But that's probably just like a one-off Florida rule.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't. That would be interesting.
for
if that
sure.
was a
That'd
thing.
be really interesting.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it could get interesting. I don't know. They're probably working through all that right now. I'd imagine there's no decision made yet either way.
I know.
You think they're
Um,
making the players get the vaccines too?
I
I mean, as far as I know, I think they're all getting them, but
don't know. I have no idea.
I
I
have
couldn't
no
tell you.
idea.
I would be based off like the OpTic. They bring it up quite a bit
I
on the
know
OpTic
they do.
pod.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say whether or not they would. I honestly don't know.
No. Yeah.
But it could either way. I mean, I would imagine it wouldn't be more than like a few thousand fans, more than likely.
Yeah.
Like let's say it's even let's say it's
Really?
even half capacity.
Mhm.
So okay, you do it at an actual like arena. So then
Arena.
maybe you could have like 7,000, 8,000 people there.
Mhm.
But maybe it's a little bit less than that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I could see it going either way.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember like World War II champs. That was like how many thousand do you think that was?
Probably like 9,000.
9,000.
8,000 there probably.
So then like you probably like divide it by like half.
Yeah, like 4,000
everything.
maybe.
4,000.
But again, that wasn't like sold out though.
No. Yeah, that's true. But like it could be like 5,000.
Right.
You know, if
Yeah.
it
I
was
mean,
sold out.
BO4 champs was like, because how they built it is they had, you got although it could be different now. We haven't seen a land champs with the CDL and what that could look
True.
like.
Yeah.
So, only 8 teams are going to be there. So it could be a lot different where,
I feel like they're only
before.
going to allow like floor seating. Like, you know how there used to be like the VIP pass, you get to be on the
Right.
floor?
The floor.
feel like-
yeah.
That's my thinking, is that's where they're going to go. It's just only like if you get the floor tickets, but they're not going to do anything in the stands.
I don't know. But I mean, like, at this point, we're seeing stadiums do stuff now with like
Mhm.
sports stuff and everything. So I could see it being like half capacity for whatever the arena size is.
And then like every other row.
Yeah,
You,
every
like,
other
have seating.
seat or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be weird.
Yeah.
But who knows? There's probably a lot of speculation for that far down the road, but it could be pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
Alrighty. So basically, besides like we're gonna talk about all the roster news, kind of its own little segment there. But basically, of course, people started figuring out that the bruiser grip thing is broken with like the little
Jeez.
like launch jump that you can do.
It's
a sim
insane.
tweeted it, I think.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, a tactical or CDL Intel had talked about it before, but yeah, the pro saw it for the first time. But it only happens when you have the bruiser grip equipped.
Yeah. Bruiser grip equipped.
And so it shouldn't be too big of a problem considering nobody
No.
uses it, but still kind of wild though, to say the least. It is definitely pretty interesting. So I'm excited to see what ends up happening with that. But any other thoughts there?
No. But like if I get bruiser gripped in league play,
Could you imagine?
I'm resetting the game.
You got like 2 guys dueling bruiser grip
They're like
chows.
they're just like
I'm
that's
just
what for
seeing this.
dashing.
I'm just seeing this for the first time watching it. Dude, that's actually crazy.
It's
That's like
insane.
a
Yeah.
grappling hook. Like,
Yeah.
It's nuts.
you go so far.
It's
I thought it would
wild,
be
bro.
like a little, like tiny little tech. No, this is like,
Oh
No.
no, this like could be an actual strat. Like you could
You can get
literally
places-
chow this with a teammate.
I know. And like you literally like
You could be like
It's-
S&D snipe spots.
it's broken.
Yeah.
It's completely broken.
It'd
but
be
it
crazy.
only works if you're looking at an enemy player, I think.
Is it
And
only an
then
enemy?
knifing.
Can it work with
'cause
teammates?
I think it's like the. I bet you can't even do it on PC. I bet it only works on controller. That's my guess.
I have no
maybe
idea.
it's possible.
Because it
But,
looks
uh,
like the aim assist is playing a part in it.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
That needs to be
But-
fixed.
So that was fun. And then it comes down to some, I guess we can talk a little bit about meta changes as well. I guess meta changes first. Obviously, Dashy put out the FFAR, Envoy put out the Milano.
Mhm.
So what are the odds of a meta change or some shifting that meta, maybe new GAs?
Or GAs.
Obviously, a lot of
probably.
people were talking about the FFAR and everyone's like, yo, this thing was crazy.
Yeah.
But was that just Dashy being good? Very possible. But
Yeah. Yeah,
it
like
definitely was an impressive debut.
yeah, the Milano though for sure. Like I don't quite know why Envoy kept it out. Like it just didn't like.
It doesn't seem like it hits that. Hits like
No.
that.
It's like a slower firing almost, and like it has like a little bit more kick to it. And I just don't know
I
why
don't
he
think it's
kept
good.
it.
I tried to use it like right when that patch first dropped, and it didn't feel like it was that good.
Like you got to land like every shot, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
Aim high, hit a lot of shots.
I don't see that coming in. FAR though, I could see it becoming like close quarters, like not like a checkmate or anything, but like you pulled out
Certain hills
and express, certain hills,
Garrison.
of course, and so
yeah, I think so. It could be interesting. I mean, do you think it sticks, or is it more likely to get GA'd, Rex?
I don't think it's gonna. I don't even know if people are even gonna go for it. Like,
right.
I don't know if it's gonna be GA'd. I think it could be one of those things that, like, very niche situations, someone might pull it out.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be GA'd. I just don't think everyone's gonna be using it.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's kind of what I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just know that like pros are like so wanting to keep it the way they know, and so it's like that's why I could see it being GA'd, honestly. But at the same time, it's like I'm not even sure if it's even like worth GAing. Like,
it's better for although when OpTic's the one spearheading the new metas, then I think it makes it less likely that it gets GA'd and more likely that it's just adopted into the meta of some way. I don't know.
Right.
I mean,
obviously
OpTic
hasn't been doing that great, so it's not like,
that's the other thing.
How much stock do you put into somebody using it and then losing,
For sure. Yeah, I mean, if they were dominating with it and also winning the matches, that could be a whole different story.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wasn't the case against LA Thieves, but still wild nonetheless, though. I think there's still a chance that we could see more of it this weekend and see what teams. I know Temp was mentioning that he might try to use it in scrims this week.
Yeah, he was.
And I wouldn't be surprised if other teams try to use it as well against OpTic in scrims this week, too.
Yeah.
So that's possible. I think it's kind of fun, at least.
I enjoy it. Like, I enjoy the switch up, but
it's like actually weird seeing other guns. It's like, oh wow,
like, whoa,
this is weird. Like, unlike every other COD where we actually saw teams try different things. This year's just been a little bit different, obviously, with the metas and the GAs, but
it's always nice. It's nice to have at least like 2 guns in each class that like people can pull out, just because it adds some more flavor.
Yeah,
for sure, it is interesting, definitely. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see what happens. It could potentially mean something more than just the one match we saw and then kind of leak into this weekend as well. But I guess we'll have to see. If you had to guess, does the FAR become a gun that's actually used in semi-frequent situations?
Yeah, I say yes.
Ooh, I think it could be.
All right. I'm leaning towards the yes side too as well. That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other piece of news, basically game related, is that it was leaked that supposedly there's another 10 to 12 6v6 maps remaining to be released in Black Ops Cold War. This was from which leaker was it from? Modern War. I can't remember. One of the popular leakers, Ghost, maybe like MW Ghost, whatever his name is. Yeah. But yeah, he said that supposedly there's 10 to 12 6v6 maps still coming to the game. He said that some of them will likely be coming out after the new COD's released to kind of help bring people or keep people on the game or whatever, bring people back to the game.
Yeah.
But he says a lot of them are likely going to be remastered maps, but that's still pretty crazy either way, insane. With the potential of 10 to 12 more maps coming, even if, let's say, 8 of them show up or 7 of them show up by August or September, October. I mean, like before the end of the cycle. It's still pretty insane considering, we added in Apocalypse, we added in now, of course we added in Express, we added in Raid, and then Standoff is coming. So I don't know. It is interesting with the potential of bringing in more maps and seeing pros being willing to bring in the maps this year. Do you think it's possible any of those maps could still find their way in?
Honestly, they seem to be like very happily adopting all the remake maps. So I can definitely see if it's like
some are slums or something like
slums, something. But in regards to like a whole new one, it for sure has to be like better than.
It has to be like everyone would have to agree like this is a great map.
Yeah,
which is kind of hard to imagine. I mean, basically since AW, the only DLC map that got brought back was Valkyrie, which was a remake of Detroit, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like we're not really seeing any map that's not a remake coming into the rotation.
Apocalypse is kind of the
Apocalypse was a rare one, but that's because the maps were just so bad.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I see like another new one coming in, but definitely like if they bring back like slums for sure. I mean, why wouldn't they
give it a go for Hardpoint?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It could be really interesting. So Yeah, that's also a fun thing. So, all right. We thought instead of just doing the same old for the roster discussions, we would throw it into its own segment and just full send it. So why not? We're not going to do as much talk about like challengers thing this week, is because there's so much news to go over before the big prediction. So we need to spend like dedicate a whole week just kind of recovering from it. But all right, let's roll a segment, talk about some roster changes, and let's hit it. Alrighty, so there is a ton to go over here. Obviously, when it comes to Huke, Decimate, the possibilities of trades, the possibilities of other moves happening the next few weeks as well. It gets spicy. So obviously, let's start with the lead. Decimate is joining the Seattle Surge. Loony has hit the bench. And now there's a lot of questions about where does Loony go from here? What does this mean for Seattle? How does this affect the roster? What does this look like for this team? Can they reach their untapped potential in a situation like this? So Rex, lead the way here. What's your thoughts on this team, the situation? Decimate coming in. Is he the guy you wanted to see? Thoughts?
Right. I mean, I'm not going to be like, I pinpointed Decimate like to be the guy. Like, to be honest, I really didn't know what person you could throw in there on the Seattle squad to make them like a lot better. I think they will possibly get better from this. I still think Loony played a major role in how that team was organizing themselves. And as you can see, like Seattle, it just felt like they were just on the cusp of almost doing it every single time.
Right.
And I think in the growth they made from the beginning of the year till now, they are better. But just not good enough still. So I guess Decimate's going to come in with that slaying power, and Loony has been, I think, mentally good for the team and keeping them organized and like strategy wise. I think he's been great because he's a smart player, but I think just slaying wise, he just was not winning his gunfights. And Decimate can bring that, but I do fear for what happens to their organization since Loony's gone. And in regards to what Loony should do, I feel like if he is still very like pro team, like he wants to be part of this team, he likes the players, he wants the team to succeed, even if he's not playing, then I think him in a coaching position could be great. I think him in a coaching position for almost any team could be great.
Yeah, I think so too.
As long as he is still passionate about doing the coaching thing as much as he is about being an in-game leader while playing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I feel like it's like at this point, since like the CDL is still super early, if you're kind of teetering on like, do I keep playing? Do I not? I know it's kind of like you can point back to Bance, where like Bance was like thinking about hanging it up, and then all of a sudden he just pops off. And
right.
So you know, there's always
a room for redemption.
There's always room for redemption, but if you kind of want to like play it where it's like, maybe you call it the safer route, but you can easily get into content now for the CDL where it's still young and it's still like not a whole lot. Like we just saw Zuma and Ben, you know, Ben's not a pro player, but
no
like
free shout outs.
Sorry, no free shout outs on, you know, over there. But
right. If you're Loony, yo, Zuma, I'll be a co-host. I'm down. I'll pop in whenever. I'll build my content, plug it once in a while.
Yeah, like,
that could work.
Maybe you build content now and you get it started now, so that like when the CDL is taking off here in the next, 5 to 10 years, you're established as like one of the go-to guys.
Yeah, I mean, at the same point though, it's like, do you want to just keep competing in challengers? Because next year there's going to be expansion teams, and you have another chance to compete again potentially next year with an expansion roster, unless you still feel like you're going to still get that opportunity if there were expansion teams. But now, getting benched in a back-to-back years on Modern Warfare and now in BO4.
Your stock is pretty low.
Modern Warfare and then now in Cold War, and then coming off 5v5 now in 4v4 getting benched. It's definitely not the greatest of looks. So it puts them into a pretty tough spot. I mean, for Seattle, they were coming off of basically the 3-0 loss to New York this weekend after New York had just lost to London. And so, I don't know. They didn't, again, when they play these matchups, like you said, Rex, they're always pretty competitive. It's not like they're just getting smoked, like they're getting wiped with the floor. I mean, that Moscow hardpoint, was a little tough, especially at the beginning. The first half of that map, they were getting smoked. And then by the end, it's like the whole team had streaks. But like definitely not a great map there. And like you came away from that series like, all right, something might need to change here.
Yeah.
And it definitely wasn't an overall like really impressive series by any means. It is, at least in my opinion, it always just felt like Seattle was relying on like big plays to open up the map. Like they just like, all right, well, we need a 3-piece right here. And then like Octane or Gunless would like pull off a 3-piece, and now suddenly they have a decent spot. But like versus Toronto, where like you're watching like that Minnesota versus Toronto series, and I'm like, man, Toronto's just like every time Minnesota gets a kill, a Toronto player is right there. They were there within 2 seconds. That Minnesota player is going down every time. And those just trades, just that type of situations just were not coming through for Seattle at all. And there's moments there where it's like you just watch like any of these New York players just running around the map felt like free will, doing whatever they wanted, and it was tough. So I don't know. I mean, like in that hard point, Loony went like 11-21, Gunless went like 12-25, and we've seen Gunless have some nice series on Moscow, and that was just really really tough. So I don't know. Thoughts on the Seattle team? I mean, like obviously they needed a change, but like, what do you think? Do you think this is the fix for this team, Sam?
I think this is a good direction. I don't know if it's the fix, but I definitely think it's the step in the right direction. We obviously see that roster changes this year seemed to have the majority of the time have a positive impact than not, and then also bringing up the top challengers players have also seemed to prove pretty well. Like you look at Insight, you look at Zaptius now and Paul X and those guys, and they do have a positive impact. I've said positive impact 5 times in a row.
Positive impact, dude.
Positive impact.
Let's go.
But I truly do think it's tough to be in Looney's position. Like you said, back-to-back years where it's just kind of lackluster.
For sure.
That sucks. But part of the thing was like he could pop off, but at the same time it was pretty inconsistent and the lane wasn't there. So I think you bring in Decimate, you put him in Looney's role where maybe he's just that more of a consistent player, can play off of Persini, or whoever. Right.
I mean, Decimate, he has quite a bit of history, obviously, in the COD scene, even dating back to like playing with Gunless. He was on the NV squad in BO4 with Huke and like Aches and Silly and Pharaoh before Huke left to go play on Splice. And he played with Gunless on that NV squad at Champs after, I think it was at Champs. Yeah, at Champs after the trade with Huke to Splice. And so I don't know, it gets interesting with like the history with that team, obviously dating back to World War II, when he was playing on NV. And I don't know, man. Decimate's an interesting player because I mean, obviously most recently he was playing with Methods and Slacked in the AM scene and Challengers this weekend. They got third in the elite stage 3. So man, I like what I've seen from Decimate this year, and when you watch the AM scene, he definitely looks solid. But it's like I'm just not sold that this is like the high upside change that they desperately need to unlock top 5 potential, right?
But what would be the high upside change?
Huke.
Do you think if you put Huke in instead, that team just has an immediate turnaround, you think?
I think it gives it a higher chance of having an immediate turnaround. Obviously, Huke's a next level talent, but that's obviously out of the picture now. But whoever the new player was, the question was always going to be, how does that new player work with Gunless? And it probably helps that they have a little bit of history playing together. But, it was for a pretty short time in BO4, so it's kind of hard to say. And they never really had that much success when they played together in BO4 either. So, I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, and like Looney seemed to be that kind of that like perfect fit for Gunless that they could be able
Gunless, to. He had voiced that he wanted him on the team last year in the off season, and that he wanted to team with him again one day, but and all that. Yeah. So it's definitely a tough situation.
That could definitely be hard. But I'm very excited to see how this team does, and I think put that aside of whatever personal or like. I think Gunless has matured as a player over the years too, and like I don't think he'll just throw a fit or anything. But I don't know. I do have Very high hopes for this team moving forward. And they're just a weird team because they always seem to be on the brink of being able to like beat these teams, but they just can't get it together.
They are 3-7 since starting stage 2, and basically like they haven't beat any of the top 6 teams they faced. So they're 2-1 against Florida.
Yeah.
And that was like also pre bringing in Havoc for Slacked. Yeah. And then they're 1-0 against Paris. Yeah. And then they're 0-3 against OpTic, and then losses to New York, LA Thieves, Rokkr, and Empire during that stretch. So it's like they just cannot get over that hump. Obviously, that was like some really tough losses to like Rokkr and Empire too in that stretch. Yeah. And they're always so close, like game 5 or whatever it is. Yeah. But I think the biggest issue is that when you have a team here where you're this bad at control for this long, like something's wrong with the squad, and you had to make a change. That's why you have to bring in Decemate. But is this the fix that fixes control? It's hard to imagine that's going to be the ultimate patch where we just see the fix suddenly.
I really don't see it fixing control. Like, control was bigger than just a one-person thing for this team.
That's what it felt like.
It's a very just like, I feel like it's all the players almost in regards to control. Like, none of them are on the same page about it. So I think one person coming in isn't going to completely turn their control game around. Will they do better in control? Yeah. Maybe. They might have more slaying power, and maybe that's what will get them more of those wins. But I think it has more roots than just one person, which is costing all their controls.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part this year, when we've seen a roster change, it's been basically you bring in a guy and that changes up the whole kind of roles of your team. And then that collective bigger change actually is what helps those dominoes fall into place. Yep. Except the only exception would be probably Toronto, where you swap main AR for main AR, and Insight's a literal beast. Yeah. And that's enough to put them over the hump and make them one of the best teams, if not the best team in the CDL. So I don't know, unless you think that Decimate's going to be a top 5-ish, top 7-ish, somewhere in there, like a legit, really good SMG, then it's hard to imagine that this is going to fix the majority of Seattle's problems without a bigger change or this unlocking or creating more consistency for like Gunless or Octane or whatever it is.
And we've talked about this before, where it's like, do you pick up somebody who no one knows about, is kind of like a big question mark? Like Hydro is sort of like that question mark. Like everyone's like, he's great, but no one's really played against him or with him too much.
You've only seen him a little bit in the AM scene. It's been NA, but yeah.
And then like Standy as well, where Decimate, he's been around a while. It's almost like similar to like Havoc's situation, where it's like they've been in that pro scene for a while. They've played with these players before. They've been there. You kind of already know what you're getting. So there's no like super high, I feel like, ceiling that is just like unknown. I feel like we have somewhat of an understanding of where Decimate's ceiling might be, unless he's completely godlike in this game for some reason.
Which, I mean, again, he has looked very good in the AM scene. The question is, will that translate to the CDL, and like, can he optimize his role with Seattle? You know, and that's what's hard to see. Like, to your point, like it's basically very similar to like LAG bringing in Chino for Vivid. Like, we know what Chino is, but to be fair, Chino's been playing very well so far, and they do look a little bit more consistent right now. So maybe this helps them at least play more consistently and be more competitive with the teams in like that 4, 5, 6, 7 range and that they can compete with, and try to scratch your back into that top 8, which is of course where all teams want to be right now. And right now they're only 30 points behind 8th place, so they have a chance. It feels like Florida and Surge are kind of in a similar boat, where it's like they have inconsistent SMGs, and you could compare Pristini to like Neptune, where both of them go rogue, and when they catch fire, and they're nasty, but then they make inconsistent plays, and like Insertion Destroy, they can get caught out on an island sometimes. And then you have 2 ARs who are at this point perennially really good players, obviously more perennially for Seattle than for Florida at this point, although obviously Awakening Skies are incredible. And then you're just kind of trying to look to figure out and find that consistent upside long-term slayer for the team. And that's what they're hoping that Havoc can be for Florida. And now you're really hoping that Decimate can be that long-term upside slayer for Seattle now. If you just look back at Decimate's past, he's had, again, moments where he looked really good. I mean, there was moments even last year on LAG where he looked really solid, but there was zero consistency the whole year for him. And obviously it was a tough situation with like Blast and like Vivid on that team. And it's just a weird, just always a kind of a weird team as a whole with Spart on that team as well.
Yeah. Looking at this year too, in the challengers, you know, like he was teamed with Insight and Draza, and like they won they won the cup number 8, open number 1. So like he's been relatively consistent, bar like a few,
and playing with some really good players.
Exactly, like bar a few of those, like he had a few 17 and 30-second ones, but like I mean, like you look at it, like third, first, second, first.
Right. Yeah, they've won 4 cups and or like playoffs with Elite Series, plus finishing second twice in a cup and the Elite Series. So
so like maybe we're seeing a more consistent Decimate now. You know,
I think so. I think it's possible.
He's had time in both the Pro League and in Challenger, so who knows?
I mean, the hype around Decimate back in World War II was insane. Everyone loved him. I mean, coming off of the E6 squad with like General and Dashy and Bevels, and then it was Decimate, and everyone's like, yo, this guy could be the next big thing. Yeah. And then like, you know, that's when he joined Envy with like Huke and Classic, and everyone was like, this team could be crazy. And then Chino joined that team, and you're like, oh, this team could be wild. And it just never really just came to fruition at the end of the year for him during World War II. I don't know. There's just like, again, I feel like everyone's just kind of been waiting for Decimate to break out. And now we've waited multiple years, and we've never seen that consistent performance where you really felt like that was the case. So we're going to talk more about Seattle a little bit later for sure. So we'll leave it there for now. But it definitely gets interesting with seeing Decimate here and looking towards this weekend. You know, they're going to have their work cut out for them trying to make something happen in the stage. Obviously, with some tough matchups again this weekend. Let's talk Dallas and Huke then. Obviously, the news of the weekend was that Huke had followed Florida's CEO on Twitter, and that there was the rumor or the article that came out that Hastro would be willing to send him wherever he wanted if they decide. The question was if they decide to move on from him. Yeah, and then then there's CDL Intel said he had heard that they were potentially talking, but he hadn't heard any updates on it since. So thoughts on the Huke situation at this point? Is Florida still the most likely destination? Is another team a potential option? Overall thoughts on Huke right now, Sam?
Yeah, I think Hastro is not wanting to let go of him yet. I think he still wants to decide, how this goes. I can see it for sure. So Dallas is playing Florida and Mutineers this week. So like you kind of wonder if
Florida and the Mutineers. Wow, dude.
Did I say Florida Mutineers?
Oh yeah.
Florida and the Rokkr is what I meant to say. It's like you kind of wonder if they lose both. Let's say Dallas lose both.
Oh, that's tough.
Well, will they sub Huke back in for the major?
I don't know how you don't.
I mean, I think you do. I still kind of think Huke's going to end up back on the Empire.
Right. I mean, that's the thing.
Seeing Huke somewhere else just feels weird.
This is why I was very hesitant to commit to them sending him off before the end of stage 3. Because are you really going to send them off before you finish out the rest of these groups? And what if you end up going like 1-4 or whatever? Like, that's ugly. It's just like, that's the last thing you want to do right now. Because right now, I mean, Dallas has what? They have 2 wins then, I guess.
2-1, I think.
They're 2-1. Yeah. So they could end up 2-3 potentially, obviously, playing Rokkr and Florida. We'll see. I mean, realistically, I think you'd expect them to beat Florida. Rocker's a tough match, so we'll see what type of fellow and Dallas we get this weekend. But yeah, I agree with you that there's still a really likely chance that I think Huke still ends up back on this team. But I don't know, man. I mean, I was listening to the Flank to kind of get their opinions on it because I wanted to see what the pros had to say about Huke specifically. And they all kind of seemed like that they thought that the relationship was kind of already severed pretty bad.
Really?
Huke.
Wow.
And that they didn't know if it was really redeemable with Dallas. And I was like, dang, for real? Because it's like, if you're Huke, are you willing to go back onto this roster? I mean, after they decide to bench you for fellow, I'm sure that probably feels a little disrespectful considering how good Huke's been the past year and a half. And you just won a champs together and you're bringing him in for fellow who didn't even play in the CDL last year. I mean, again, no disrespect to fellow, but just from like Huke's perspective.
Yeah.
The thing is, Dallas doesn't seem like they're doing much better with fellow.
No,
to be honest, I don't know. Like, so I can't imagine. It's weird to me that they think that there's like severed ties, and like obviously like the pros are gonna have more insight on that, but like it was ILLeY, Shotzzy, and Huke. Like that's Zio or however you say it. Like to break that up is a
XCO,
lot.
baby.
That's
right. That's what I'm saying.
Crim really is the odd man out in that quad there.
I know. That's
so
my
if anything,
thought.
The only bad blood I see is that Huke and Crim. Crim was one who's kind of like make the decision like, no, we got to get rid of Huke.
I'd imagine Crim spearheaded the decision, right?
You know
but then
crazy?
do you get rid of Crim to appease Huke and get some new AR in?
See, now that would be interesting.
What's crazy though is think about Clay on this roster. That could have been a disgusting roster.
It honestly, looking back at it now, it's like
hindsight.
It makes more sense. But at the same time, you know, there's a lot of revisionist things is there. It's like, is Clay as motivated to be as good in this game if he doesn't get dropped by Dallas?
Exactly.
Is because there's obviously that chip on his shoulder revenge mentality of getting back at Dallas, and now they have the underdog thing going with New York, and you know, so it's like you could run a lot of like potential storylines there that could play out different ways. I don't know. My thought process with Dallas is that this team was always primed for champs. It didn't feel like anything else really mattered to them besides champs, especially since I felt like they all kind of assumed Atlanta was coming back at some point.
Yeah.
And Crim just didn't have much of an urgency early in this year to like win.
Well, if you remember that tweet to Clayster, he's like, how do you even get hyped for these games?
Yeah, like how are you so hyped for this, dude?
I know. And it's like, which like to me that like shocked me. I'm like, oh really? So like he's not really that hyped for these games, which obviously that like they made something, but I guess I can see like where you're so used to these lands.
If you're Crim
and you're
who's won that many tournaments,
it's like he might not be going as hard, and I can see it.
Right. So that's my thought is like that's why I was just so surprised from the beginning that they decided to move on from Huke when LAN was coming around the corner. Like it's okay. So let's play a little role play game here. All right, we have some fun around here. You know,
have some fun.
Hello. You play to win the game.
One of us is going to be Huke, one of us is going to be Hastro, and one of us is going to be the rest of the teams in the CDL trying to get Huke. All right? So, Rex, who do you want to be?
I'll be Hastro.
All right. Sam, do you want to be Huke?
I'll be Huke.
Okay. I'll be the rest of the CDL
I don't
team.
even know
So,
what's going on.
So, okay, no, we're playing a little role play here. So you're approaching this situation from Hastro's perspective, where you got to work about the money, you got to think about Dallas winning, prioritizing Dallas being great and not making other teams better, and trying to get the best price for Huke as possible. You're trying to play some Call of Duty, but also you're trying to consider your contract. You're trying to consider the teammates you're playing with and your chance to win champs, really. And then I'm here. I'm trying to win champs. I'm the opposing team. I couldn't give a crap about Dallas, but I do have to consider how much money do I have to spend to get Huke. All right. So now, does Huke want to leave Dallas?
Yes.
All right, Hastro.
I don't think Huke wants to leave Dallas. He's a very much valued part of our organization. Honestly,
I'm telling you, Hastro, I want to leave.
Honestly, when he starts retiring, you know, you're more than welcome to have a job back here.
He's holding you hostage, man.
Hastro, listen to me.
I'm subtweeting you.
Listen to me, old man. I want off this team. I want to play Call of Duty.
Is there a team you specifically want to go to?
Yeah, is there a team you want to go to?
I have a couple options.
Okay.
One team I want to throw out there to you is the Florida Mutineers. They're struggling a little bit.
Yo, Hastro. Hey, this is the Florida. We'd love to get some Huke action here. What's your price here? Where are we at?
And Huke, you really want to do this? You really want to go to Mutineers, who are way lower in the rankings? We could try and work something out. Maybe get you back on the squad. I'll have to talk to the guys, as you know. But if you were able to get back on this team, if we put you over there, there's no chance of you being able to get back on this team. And we have the points. We are high in the standings. This is something you truly want to do. You could end up not at champs.
Listen,
if it doesn't work out.
I am no one's second option. I had the talent to be on a top 2 team. And right now, you traded me out. And look what it's gotten you. Nowhere. You're no better than you were.
Hey,
than
don't
before.
put this on me. Put this on. This was it was a team decision.
We all know you signed off on it.
They all came up to me and talked to me about it.
Yeah,
it was a mutual
you
decision.
signed
This
off
isn't
on
all
it.
on me.
Listen. I want I want to be on Florida. I can make this team better, and this team has the potential to win champs.
Okay, so all right, Hatcher, what's your price here? Then, like, what are your thoughts? Are you actually willing to sell him first of all? Because that's what I need to know.
I'm not going to sell him, but I can put you out there as like they can rent you. I don't know what the right word is. Loan. I can loan you out to them.
All right, so we'll pay your salary.
We still are running an organization here, and I can't just lose money off of this.
Right. I mean, the other option that, I obviously as a team owner, I don't want to do this, but I could buy him out for like $500,000 or something, and you're making bank off his buyout, and then now the contracts are a problem to deal with.
How long? How much do you want to? How long is the contract going to be? Huke, how long do you want to sign a contract with the Florida Mutineers?
Well, he has to buy out the rest of the current contract, which is probably a 2-year deal.
True.
So Dallas, are you willing to let go of Huke for the next 2 years for $500,000?
If it's a team decision, and that's what Huke really wants to do, we can figure something out.
Yeah, so I'm Florida, and I'm like, hell no, I can't spend $500,000. I'm broke as hell. So that's our problem here. So I would love to loan Huke, and you can try to build your team around Huke, maybe going into next year. So the problem is Florida, do you really, or Dallas, do you really, you're going to have a weird situation here, though, is if the relationship between Crim and Huke really is severed, that next year, one of those guys would have to leave your team if the relationship is truly severed. So that's the question that Hasher has to work through right now is this relationship really severed or is it not? So
we have to think Crim is on his way out. Like, not that he's on his way out, but he's the oldest of the group, the most veteran. Like, we could see a retirement any day now. Let's say Crim decides he wants to retire next year.
Crim's playing until he's 94.
Like, where am I left here? Crim just left, and I just got rid of Huke.
All right, bring. Yo, hey, yeah. This is Nate Shot. Yo.
Oh my gosh.
This is Nate Shot. Hey, I'm rich as hell. Okay, so first of all, I'd love to buy Huke off of you. I know how good of a player he is, and so Hasher, we go way back. You've always been kind to me, man. And Envy was always my second favorite team back in the day. I would have loved to join you guys if Hex wasn't already so nice to me. So here's what I'll do for you, I'm willing to pay the $500,000 buyout right now. I'll take Huke off your hands, and he's joining in the starting lineup for Venom right now. Do you say yes?
And the contract is going to be 2 years.
Yep, I get Huke for the next 2 years.
Huke, is this something you want to do? You want to go play for the Hoodie Org? They don't really win championships. So do you want to be a winner or do you want to be a model?
Kenny's been looking solid on main AR. I can work with Kenny. Draza's been looking real good. TJ, I can play off TJ.
Yeah, Huke, we just all we need is that a consistent main sub, man. It's all we need, and we're gonna be a championship roster.
I can do that for you.
Alrighty.
All right, I gotta talk to the rest of the guys and see what they're thinking.
Who would you rather sell to then? You got Florida on the line, wanting a loan, where you can keep Huke for next year, or
I don't want to sell to anybody.
Or would you rather sell to LAT with a full on buyout?
Loan. I would do a
loan to Florida. Okay.
Obviously, I would talk to Huke first to see kind of what he's thinking.
Huke's good with both of them.
But because I really believe Huke can be a big part of this organization for the future.
Okay.
And so I'm willing to loan him out, as I've shown in the past. And I think, Huke, me and you, we're close, right?
Yeah, but I hate Crim.
Okay, so that's the thing. So this is where it comes to a team decision. It's not all on me who makes all these decisions.
Huke, if it's up to you,
would players to talk to you.
Huke, would you rather come back to Dallas next year with Crim gone, or would you rather stay on Florida? Or would you rather be on LAT next year?
Crim leaves. I think I'd rather stick with Zio.
Okay, so you might rather go to Florida then, on loan.
Yeah,
that's because
maybe.
Envy is your home, Huke. Envy is your home. I know right now it's not working out with the guys. Whatever's going on over there, I don't have total control over what's happening over there.
Yeah.
But we don't know what's going to happen with Crim. He could retire next year, 2 years from now, and then all of a sudden you're gone. You're bought out somewhere else. I can't guarantee I can get you back in here.
Yeah.
If they buy you out, I can put you on loan and then I can get you back. If there's a buyout, I cannot guarantee I will have the funds or the money to be able to pay that back to get you back here.
Yeah, with Shotzi and ILLeY, your boys.
With Shotzi and ILLeY and Zio. And if I'm giving up you, I'm probably really not going to give up those guys.
Yeah.
That's really pushing
Rex.
the line. You were already tough for me to get rid of.
I'm sold.
Wow.
You know?
Man,
End scene.
Jeez. Good job, Rex.
Well, that was good stuff, boys. I think we should do more of these situation rooms in the future because that was a good time. But
honestly, you just like
so Huke
persuaded me.
is on Florida.
Yeah.
Apparently, based off of that.
You heard it here first.
Luke got Fluke got hooked onto Pook. So Huke is now loaned out to Florida.
Yep.
LAT rang the doorbell and they got denied by Hastro.
Venom
said
heard
not
about
today.
it and is now leaving.
Yeah, Venom went back to OpTic, got his controller signed, and we're good to go. So, I do think that the Florida loan situation, if that's possible, which we haven't heard if that's technically possible yet.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit murky situation with that, but I think that makes the most sense as a whole.
Yeah.
It just comes down to whether or not Dallas is willing to make another team better by letting Huke go. And then it's the debate of, is the money that you're paying Huke, which is probably a pretty hefty salary, plus is that worth it to Dallas to hold on to and make sure that Florida doesn't make champs?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. One of the good things that was raised was that like Huke's salary is probably already like
half paid
cost that they budgeted for.
Yeah, so that's fair.
So it's like on one side you could look at it as like, well, they already budgeted during their like yearly planning to already pay Huke's salary. So it's like it may not be a
and they already
deal.
had Fellow there.
Exactly. So it's like it may not be that big of a deal.
And NB has a pretty good funding already.
But yeah, no. But like the only way I'd see it is like you said, Rex. If Huke truly does not does want to leave, I think Hastro is good about doing his best, like he did with Clay.
So the only situation where I actually see Huke leaving is if Huke is okay with not teaming with Shotzzy and ILLeY even next season.
Yeah.
And is wanting, I think LA Thieves is actually technically more likely than Florida, just because, like I said, I do agree that the money situation might not be a big deal to Envy.
Yeah.
And I don't think Florida is going to be willing to pay a $500,000+ buyout, which, I mean, some of the numbers that were being thrown around the flag was like $500,000 to $1 million in buyout, which is pretty insane for a COD player.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine in that case that Florida buys that out unless Huke is committing to being on this roster next season as well, and you just build around that core of Huke, Skies, and Awakening, which could very well work, and then you're pairing him with another Halo buddy. So in Neptune. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I also think the LA Thief situation is very possible, but those feel like the only two logical spots at this point for him that have any chance of happening. And I'm still not convinced that Dallas will be willing to make another team better to save $100,000 or whatever it is.
Now, hear me out. I'm going out into the galaxy here. But New York does the loan for Huke.
I mean, who are they replacing?
I don't know. I didn't think that far ahead. But I think it'd be something very interesting. I think it's like, I don't think it could happen because New York's playing really well right now.
Right. You'd have
but
to
that really could
bench
fix some
Mac?
consistency
Bench Mac,
issues.
probably,
You have Clay and Huke back together. If they like each other so much, I'm not sure, but
I mean, that'd be crazy. It just seems unlikely at this point.
Yeah.
Just because
I think
of
it's unlikely
how
too. But
well
I
they're
thought
playing.
I'd throw it out there. It's a little
For sure.
nugget of something.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, I think Envy probably, at this point in my mind, I think Envy has to be blown away by an offer to buy out his contract, and like it has to become such a significant financial like really opportunity for Dallas for it to be worth selling him. Otherwise, it's like, are you really going to try to save $100,000 or whatever it is of just his salary to loan out to someone when that could be the sole reason why you don't win champs or you place lower at champs?
True.
And then you make less money at champs, therefore you actually lost money on the deal. Like there is a debate there where financially, where if you're giving it to a team that knocks you out of champs or whatever it is, then suddenly now you just lost out on a lot of cash. So you were actually lost money on the deal.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it would come down to like a $500,000 plus buyout from a team, which is a financial risk on their part, but also a financial opportunity for Envy. So
true.
That's where I'm at with it. Welcome to my TED Talk.
TED Talk.
So, alrighty. Other news there. Any other thoughts? Does Vivid have any opportunity here? Is there a chance for Vivid to, if let's say, I think Vivid to Florida has some life here.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I'm crazy. The second Vivid got benched, I tweeted Vivid to Florida. And I'm still liking the odds at this point. I mean, again, Havoc, I don't think we've seen the upside. Right?
No.
So what's the most likely spot for Vivid? Do you think he sits on the bench? Is Florida make a lot of sense? Is there another team that comes to mind?
No, I'd for sure say if there was even any chance that Huke would play in Florida, they'd pursue that first. But say it doesn't work, Vivid to Florida makes perfect sense. Like I feel like we'd all just love to see Vivid and Neptune play off each other, and like, see how that relationship would work.
Yeah, just the fastest paced team in the league.
Exactly. So yeah, I think the majority of people when Vivid was benched did not agree with that decision and still view Vivid in a high light there. If it wasn't Florida, maybe you try him on Thieves for Venom, but like if Thieves keep winning,
that would be pretty interesting. But at this point, you had no chance because they're winning.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think Thieves are gonna make any sort of change right now.
No,
not when they're winning.
No.
Yeah, definitely not. So
maybe Paris, Paris
he just
Simp maybe.
Vivid.
I could see that. Yeah, it's hard to see other landing spots for him besides those few if you're not already there. I mean, because otherwise you're looking at the Rokkr fine, Empire is probably going to be fine, OpTic, FaZe are fine, then New York's fine. So then you're looking at Thieves is fine. So you're just quickly running out of spots here.
It's rough. Which again leads into our discussion of we need expansion teams.
We need expansion teams. That's what this comes down to at the end of the day, which is just insane with how many former All-Pro players are on the bench right now, which is just
really
wild. So I think we can kind of head into our discussion here. We're going to do a little bit of a breakdown, just the 2 or 3 big topics of week 2, and then get into our predictions. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's go.
Trash. Garbage.
Alrighty. So basically, we just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the 2 or 3 biggest storylines of the thing right here. And real quick, we want to talk about the standings real quick as well. So looking at the standings for just the CDL right now, it does get a little spicy. I mean, again, when the top 8 teams, I guess this is kind of just setting up our predictions conversation, just because of the importance of some of these matches. So you look at the standings right now, and you've got FaZe at 1, Dallas at 2, Toronto at 3, OpTic at 4, and Toronto is 5 points ahead of OpTic and New York, who are tied at 160. Then you've got LA Thieves at 140, which is 20 behind OpTic and Subliners at 6. Then Rokkr at 110, and then you've got LAG, the last team in champs right now, at 80, 30 points behind the Rokkr, 60 points behind Thieves. Then you've got Florida at 70, Paris at 60, Seattle at 50, London at 40. So it gets real quick where basically you've got 5 teams vying for the last spot in champs and not much else competition besides that. It feels no one's a lock because if any of these teams make a run at any of these last 3 majors, then they're fine. Like let's say Florida goes on and somehow wins stage 3 or stage 4, like then they're in. But so there's still plenty of hope, but it does put a little bit more weight on, I think, each individual match or each individual league play match at this point, because those 10 CDL points matter. And if you're like Florida and you're playing against one of these teams that are in the bottom 5, that's a 20-point swing potentially of a match, and that really matters right now. So
especially that 8-9 spot, it's like you could get in by 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, so when you're looking at this, what sticks out to you the most? The whole standings. What's most interesting to you, Rex?
I mean, in regards to standings, what sticks out to me the most?
Is there anything that sticks out to you about any of the standings? Like, Sam, is there one for you?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, I think London made the right time to, like, be a good team, because right now they are last with 40. So
coming off of some impressive, coming off a New York win.
Exactly. So, like, that is really, for them, this couldn't have come
desperate.
Come at a better time out, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Some teams that should be kind of nervous is maybe Rokkr, maybe LAG, where I mean,
Rokkr 40 They have a 30-point buffer right now between them and LAG, but you know, I mean, again, like we said, if one of these teams makes a run at the major, then suddenly you're a little bit worried.
Yeah, like I honestly think right now, looking at this, it's just like it's kind of scary how competitive this whole league is. Like literally, London at 40 last place could potentially go on a run, win this stage.
I mean, bro, next stage. It's crazy.
Seattle Surge, Paris.
Freaking London. Last week, I put them last in my power rankings. And then, you know, just saying like, man, Zaptius just did not look good this weekend. And then 3 days later, Zaptius looks great. And this whole team is on fire. They beat London or they beat New York in their first match. And then they take FaZe to freaking game 5. Yeah. You're like, what just happened?
I'm so scared to play Ravens right now. Any team, I'd be like, oh man, the Ravens.
Yeah,
I'd be so scared to play them. Because like that's supposed to be like the gimme win. That's like when Subliners lost them, it was so like almost more heartbreaking than if they lost to FaZe. It was like, you beat FaZe, like, oh, now you're really in a prime position. Now it's just, it gets easier. And then they lost. It's like to the team that was supposed to be like the worst.
That's so on brand for New York.
And it's like, well, now I guess we're back to square one with everything.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But that was, I think, more of a positive outlook that London still played really, really well against FaZe and had every chance to win that series too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you put that into context of the power rankings with all those teams there stacked at the bottom and all of them vying for champs, which is a pretty decent payday just making champs at this point. It's wild. Yeah. Like, it really is pretty mind-blowing, to be honest, with the potential of how competitive it is down there at the bottom of the standings. So I don't know. It's wild. I was pretty mind-blown when I looked at it, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I was like, dang, that's crazy.
Do you think the teams that just don't make it to champs, do you think they just make immediate roster changes this year?
What do you mean
for like
immediate
for next
roster
year,
changes?
I should say. Like if teams don't make it to champs, do you think it's just an automatic like, all right, we got to just, redraw the roster?
I wouldn't say immediate because there's going to be some weird, this is going to be a weird offseason with the expansion teams, depending on when they get announced or when we find out information about them. Because if it's not announced quickly, this could be like a really extended roster mania of like, slow moves as teams figure out if there's more franchises spots opening up and what that could look like and where guys are trying to sift through, and it would be really weird. It could be a really weird year.
Yeah, because like we even know too from I think it was Dashy's podcast with Hacks where like a team could pretty much be all but like confirmed to have a spot. But like until that last paper is signed, they can't really do anything about it.
They can't do anything. And that was what was lingering for OpTic.
So it's like how many of these players will like be told like, hey, we're going to get a spot.
Don't worry.
Stick with us. But there's still potential where you might not get the,
Right.
So like it could be a very
just look at what happened to LA Thieves
Yeah.
this year. It was like, it was lingering for so long. They got put in such a tough spot. And now you see all these roster changes they had to make because they had no chance to make roster changes or experiment at all in the offseason. So it is interesting for sure. So, all right, let's talk about OpTic. Speaking of LA Thieves, let's talk about OpTic in this LA Thieves match, because obviously that was kind of the talk of the whole weekend was OpTic basically getting pretty well handled by LA Thieves in a 3-1 fashion. Overall, Thieves just looked really, really good. The hype is real right now for Kenny as a main AR. And I bet J-Cap is just leaning back, feet up, like, I told these idiots, I told you so, Oak Boys up. Yeah. And they have been playing great. I mean, they just looked awesome. Yeah. And basically everybody was basically doubting them because they hadn't really beat any quote unquote good teams yet with their new roster since Draza came in. And then they came out and they smoked OpTic. They looked really, really good. They beat them on Checkmate and established that they are the best Checkmate team. Then OpTic played a great S&D.
They did. Very fundamentally
a great S&D on Express. And you're like, okay, this is really good signs for OpTic. I mean, their S&D improvement is like real. Yeah. And then they went on to a raid, and basically the whole map came down to Kenny's flank he hit in that raid control where he got the 4-piece and then turned around and rallied it into streaks by spawn killing them in garage. And the map was over at that point, which was just insane. Just because OpTic didn't turn around in time to check their flank, like really kind of dumb. But then they played on Apocalypse and OpTic looked horrible.
It was
so
very unfortunate.
I mean, maybe they were a little tilted after what happened in the raid, but I don't know, man. Thoughts on this OpTic situation? What is up with this team, man? They've really struggled to beat the good teams. They consistently beat Surge though, and they beat London. They lost. So in their last few matchups, they lost 3-1 to Thieves. They beat Surge 3-0. They beat Ravens 3-1. They lost to the Rokkr, of course, in a devastating Game 5 in the Major 3-2. They beat Surge 3-1. They lost to Ultra. So where are you at with this team right now, Rex? What are your thoughts on OpTic Gaming?
I mean, we really need to see them. Oh man, this is because they did just lose to Thieves. And maybe Thieves is just really good. I would like to see OpTic against Empire versus FaZe again, to really get an idea
this weekend's
of where
gonna be big.
things are at. Because look, like the teams that you named off, like none of them are really that great except for Rokkr, and then also obviously Thieves, and that they play Ultra.
Yeah, they got 3-1 by Ultra in the first round of the Major.
Right, so they got beat by Thieves, they get beat by Ultra, but then they got their wins against these teams that they should be beating.
Yeah, Surge twice and Ravens once.
Right, but right now it just feels like OpTic has just been slow. And looking at the standings, they're 4th right now, and I'm kind of like I thought they would be lower at this point. It just feels like they're just losing.
Right,
but they're not. They're still up there. But there's clearly something wrong in that camp right now, like something. Because they're just losing respawns, which is like, this is what that team was supposed to be so amazing at.
Yeah.
And
that's what's wild.
And that's the wild thing is like, well, if you can do it in scrims, but then you can't pull it the game, like, what do you do? And OpTic, I don't ever see making a roster change just because that's just not how OpTic ever has been, or I don't think will be this year.
Gunless last year was such a unique situation because it was for Pristini.
Right.
And, and that was such a unique situation.
It's so like, but now it's like there's no real trade you can make that's going to be like, okay, I see how that can work into things. Like, it's just very weird.
I know, because
I have fear for OpTic, to be honest with you. I fear for them because it feels like the teams that make the roster changes are the ones that keep climbing, and that's something I want to talk about. I don't like that image that's been happening in the pro scene. Is like, because pro scene is almost
roster changes are magical.
Yeah. Just one person can come and just turn the whole team around. I don't like that look. If it works, obviously. And that's what Challengers does. Is like, once it doesn't work once, everyone just disbands and gets a new team. And we all roast them for doing that.
The logic of it doesn't actually make sense, though. The logic of it doesn't make sense. Because if everyone's doing roster changes, then it shouldn't matter because everyone's doing roster changes. So how do we... I mean, we've never heard the term honeymoon phase used more than this year with teams.
It's crazy.
And it's worked. And now you see Rokkr finally lulling back into a little bit of a struggle again. And, we saw, of course, the Ultra, since they brought it inside, have been unbelievable. Although, to be fair, the roster change hasn't worked for Empire so far. Legion, TBD, probably. Yeah. Whether or not that roster change really works.
Well, the roster changes that work are the ones where they bring in people
the amateurs
who've never been in the pro scene, Yeah,
that's what's crazy about it. So,
which is like, maybe we're just at that point where like, these new guys are just better. And you got to just bring them in because like, this is the new generation. This is the new era. And the old era maybe needs to start backing down.
Parasite was talking about it a little bit. Was that on the flank? It must have been. Or maybe in a stream. I can't remember. But he was talking about how he just thinks that the amps have just been playing so much COD this year, like with so many big tournaments this year for the amps, that like he thinks a lot of the amps are more prepared than they've ever been to hit the pro scene, especially when it's an online transition. Yeah. And he thinks that there's a lot more guys that could probably play in the pro scene as well.
I mean, you can even look at Chino. You can look at everybody who was in the AM scene who was a pro before and coming in. You can tell they just look better, even if it's slightly better. Even Havoc looks better than I think we've seen Havoc in the past.
Yeah, like I think there might be a sense of it. Is it as simple as that? The AM scene forces you to play more. Is it as simple as that?
I think it's because it's the passion pit, where it's like when you're in the pro scene, it's like, well, I made it. Now
I got my contract.
They got my contract. Now I just, now I'm just playing, do my scrims, get off.
Is it like a situation where everybody
is like, it's the passion pit for a reason. Like everyone wants to be there and is just craving it, and they will learn every single tiny little tech that they can to get ahead.
Right.
And you can just see it in their gameplay.
The only person that didn't work so far is Fire. He's the only one that hasn't worked. Like technically, and you could maybe say Neptune hasn't like panned out. Oh, I guess.
But
Diamond,
the thing is,
to be
Fire
fair,
never really played in
Diamond
the AM scene this
and
year.
Fire are benched now, who were two of the original 4 rookies heading into the year.
But they were not bad. Well, Fire maybe, but Diamond was not bad.
Oh no, Diamond was a pro.
He never got a chance to play the AM scene in this game.
True. Very true.
True.
Yeah. I think there is an aspect to what Parasite's saying is that it's just like it forces you to grind the game and you're going to just know these random things that other guys might not. And it helps you early on by bringing those guys in. And that was kind of Parasite's I thought of it.
I feel like you get your nerd spots and nerdy things. You're going to be seeing it more in the amateur passion pit than you're going to be seeing in the pro league. It feels like with these guys. Cause
so that gets interesting.
Especially when they've been there so long, it's like they just feel comfortable and like in a way you get a sort of complacency involved with it. And it's like, oh wow, I didn't even know you could do that when like people in the AM scene have probably they know about this for a while.
Yeah.
So that's a scary thing.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that like they were talking about like the lack of Pro 8s this year as well, which is interesting. And that's definitely been a case. I mean, there's been way less 8s this year.
Oh, yeah.
No one's streaming them. I'm like, been looking for them. I'm like, where are these at? Like, am I missing them? Like, when are they happening? And it's just not even happening this year. This is weird.
They're doing them more now, I think. I think Method streams them, Slack streams them. Now that they're in the challengers, now they're doing them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I agree. It is a little weird though that's not been happening, but I don't know, man. It's the line is grayer than ever between AM and pro, and I think that's a big reason why, and because of how competitive it is right now. So, all right, New York. Okay, so OpTic. I mean, as a whole, what do you think their problem is? Does it come down to preparation? Does it come down to team chemistry, roles, pacing, how they're playing, positioning, anticipation, vetoes? What is it? Like, what's this issue for this team right now? Like you said, we continue to hear that Scump is frying in these scrims that they're not streaming. They're not streaming and he's frying, but we haven't seen it pan out in games yet. He's been really, really bad in respawns. I mean, basically in all the respawns that they've played in these tournaments, he's been bad. Basically every single one. Against Thieves, not that great against Surge, not that great against London.
I think the thing with Scump is like, even in the pro scene, he's a legend, right? Even the pros see Scump as like, he's this big dog. So like when you're scrimming Scump, I guess you just like take more of a mental note of what he did or how you killed him just because he is who he is. So I feel like people just know what he's going to do. People know how to hard counter him more just because they inherently just take more stock into what he's doing. Not because maybe they think he's like this amazing player, but just because he is who he is. It's like if you're playing a game against, like if I was playing against, I don't know, Clayster or whatever, it's like I'm just gonna see what he's doing. Every time I kill him or he kills me, I'm gonna be like, wow, what did he do there? Like, he is who he is.
For sure. Yeah,
and
I
get that.
I get that extent for sure. There has just been, I was talking about it in the video a little bit today, but there feels like there's a little bit of a disconnect between how like the roles on this team with how Scump and Envoy play SMGs, because we have talked a lot about how Envoy does, obviously he excels at being the lone wolf, and to be fair, that works better in a 5v5 situation, and he had us come up in 5v5, and so I think he's had a tough acclimation to playing in respawns and playing in 4v4 with a guy like Scump who wants to play with his teammates. And we've seen basically Scump being basically just a full-on entry player for the ARs, playing as an entry for Dashy and Formal. Yeah. And I think that's really kind of played into his poor stats. But to be fair, I still don't think that Scump's been playing that well. And right now, Envoy's still trying to be the route guy and hit those spawns and play these weird flanks. So they're just lacking kind of like the pure Slayer. And it's not coming through right now. And I think it's kind of a disconnect between how Scump and Envoy are playing with each other on the map.
The thing is, like, I see Scump this year, like everyone used to see Scump as like, he's like the main sub Slayer. I'm starting to see him more as like more of a supportive role on a team. Mm-hmm. He's not, he's trying to set things up more than he's trying to just execute maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think maybe that also is kind of like not connecting with Envoy, and it's not making that connect there.
Because they're both kind of support players.
Yeah, they're both kind of trying to play this weird support position when maybe Envoy just needs to be your Slayer, or like just go out, just be that Slayer. And he has been slaying. But Scump is not that guy, I think, anymore, who is just gonna the main Slayer. He just seems like a supportive person.
Obviously we kind of throw those we throw those terms around.
I think it's good to have that on a team.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we throw those terms around like, support and Slayer. Obviously, this year it's been a little bit different with how the roles have ended up playing out, of course.
Right.
And like we talked about all the time with the discussion of roles v jobs on the map v what actually is a role. Obviously, with the Kenny discussion as well. But yeah, I agree. I just think there's just some sort of lack of purpose between Scump and Envoy and how they want to play on the maps right now. And it's just really, it's putting them in tough situations. I need to go back and watch a little bit more film, and specifically on this, and go back and watch probably this Thieves series again, especially the respawns, and see how this played out, especially on a map like Apocalypse. But yeah, it's just overall, I mean, I wouldn't say Formal's been playing that well either, and Dashy's been inconsistent. It's just tough.
That's what's been up too with matchups versus Thieves. The Thieves AR is just completely outclassed,
finessed them.
Formal and Dashy. Like Kenny and Draza both put him in the blender completely. And it's like, I almost wouldn't even say like, I do agree with your point with like Scump not playing very well, but I kind of want to see more consistency out of Formal too. Like, I know I know, horny for me, but like seeing those numbers and then seeing Kenny just like completely like
dominant. Yeah, Kenny and Draza, both of them with the Craig.
It was like, holy cow. Like, I don't know. So
I mean, we haven't seen the consistent respawn OpTic since the XM4.
Yeah.
I mean, truly since the XM4, that really, you can really pinpoint that as the turning point for when OpTic wasn't a dominant respawn team anymore.
Right.
Which is surprising.
It's weird.
And now you see Dashy trying the FFAR. Maybe that's kind of telling. Like, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
It just does not work for me.
Yeah.
I guess that might be part of the conversation there. And yeah, I mean, as a whole for OpTic moving forward, do you see, is this team still a champs contender? Are they a top 3 contender at these next few, like, and you're heading into LAN in stage 4. Is that the motivator that they need to kind of kick themselves back into gear?
I think they harbor a lot of anxiety, especially playing online and feeling like they have to win these games, and they are who they are. I think once we go back to LAN, they're going to get that log thrown on the fire for them, and they're going to have that fuel. Like we saw last year at Champs with them, and when they were the Huntsmen. I think we're going to see the same sort of thing once we get back to LAN. Like they're
kind of like to put your head down and grind for the last few stages.
Yeah, they got all the fans on their side again. They're going to feel like more, I guess, loved. So like they don't feel that sort of as much anxiety about having to win. Because now it's like, I feel like they're just going to be getting hate, and hate is just always going to stick out more than the love does. Even when they win, it just doesn't hit the same when no one's...
I mean, that's also true. In a LAN environment, you're not getting booed when you lose. But when you play online, you go onto Twitter and it feels like all you do is get booed.
Yeah. And then when you win, you get like the good, like, oh, good job, guys. But like, it doesn't hit the same.
It doesn't hit like a cheer in a roaring stadium.
Right. It's just like, okay, well... thank you. I appreciate it, but like, I wish I could hear it,
And maybe they're just kind of having like that it's like the afternoon, like after you eat lunch and you're just kind of tired, like around 2 p.m. It's kind of like that, where like they know LAN is on the horizon, like they're about to get off work, and now they can suddenly start partying. But they kind of have this like lull in the afternoon, like it's the middle of stage 3, and we're like, ugh. Like, this is online COD. Thank goodness it's almost over. And like, I could see where this could be a tough rest of the major for them. I'm not convinced that this team's going to finish top 6 at this major next weekend.
I know.
But they have enough points that I think will get them to LAN and still be in a good enough position to still be able to make, like, they'll still be able to make champs, I think.
Oh, for sure.
And
I mean,
really
and we're gonna have LAN stage 4 major and stage 5 major, and then you're gonna head into champs with fans. So you have 2 LAN majors, then champs with fans. So, well, hopefully with fans. And so that's why.
right,
So I mean, as a whole, OpTic's a pretty interesting conversation. We could probably talk about this all day, and I'm sure we'll talk about them a little bit more in a second as well. And we'll talk more about LA Thieves in a second as well. So last little combo here: is New York good? Where's New York at now, Rex? With this roster coming off the loss to London, then they 3-0 Seattle, a struggling Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
What are your expectations for them? Obviously, we're going to talk about them again, of course, like I say, in a second here with some juicy matchups this weekend for them against OpTic and LA Thieves.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the temperature gauging the Rexometer here?
Again, in Clayster, what I feel like is traditional with his teams is they're very, passion driven, and he's very good at creating that. But when it's not a game, when it's like Ravens, where it's supposed to be like, the easiest game, it's hard to be pumped. When they're playing FaZe, you clearly see they are pumped out of their minds. They love to play against these best teams because they're just so amped up. But when they don't, I think they easily fall into the trap of just like underestimating, I guess, a team. Like they know they need to win.
Right.
Like, oh, it's Raven. We beat FaZe. It's all we were working for. It's like they achieved their goal. And now it's like they don't have another goal afterwards. So there's like, we just got to go play and win our games now. It's
like putting on 10 pounds after losing 30 pounds. It's like you lose 30 pounds and then you put on 10 pounds after you lose 30 pounds. Because it's like, I lost 30 pounds. Time to celebrate.
Yeah.
And then you put on 10 more pounds.
Yeah.
Been there.
I'm still high on them. It depends if they can make that connection, and hopefully they bring the heat versus OpTic and Thieves, because they're gonna have to bring the heat. They can't play bad.
Search and Destroy. It's been a little bit of struggle since Hydra joined.
Yeah, they're still early on. They're still early in their S&D game, especially with Hydra.
He's got like a 0.6 something in Search and Destroy right now.
Yeah, and also he's like that new guy, and I feel like a lot of the times new people come in and they aren't great at Search and Destroy right away.
Yeah, that's fair.
So again, give him the benefit of the doubt, give him some time. I think Hydra will be able to pick up on it because he does seem really, really good. But the Search and Destroy is a concern, but it was for Shotzzy too. But we'll see.
To me, it just seems like Hydra just probably doesn't feel very comfortable, fully comfortable in S&D yet. And just like you said, I think it just takes time, especially with meshing with different people. And this could be a thing of I know we keep mentioning call outs and the language barrier, but he seems to be doing really well. Whenever
Respawn,
whenever you hear listen-ins, he seems to be calling out. And
like Clay said, he's fluent in COD.
Exactly. So he totally understands Respawn, but maybe there's just some stuff that he needs to figure out positioning wise when it comes to S&D.
In Search and Destroy, there is more of that small talk, and so maybe some of that's lost in translation.
Yeah, exactly.
And I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine it'll get ironed out, but it is a major question mark right now heading into the two biggest matchups of the week for the New York Subliners. So with that said, let's finally get into our predictions. Obviously, another long episode today. Shocker.
Hey.
But I thought there's been a lot of good conversation so far, and I'm excited to talk about it in the predictions. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's go. Your leg, you're cramping? Yeah, you were falling asleep over there, bro.
Woo! Yeah. Hype.
I'm waiting for him to get his
Sorry.
earbuds back in.
Give me a second. Okay.
Alrighty. Okie dokie. So a pretty juicy week of matchups. Like we were saying, this is probably the best matchups we've had in maybe the whole season, with some really, really good ones in here, and someone we're going to learn a lot about a lot of teams.
It's going to be a good week.
And so it's going to be a fun week leading into the last weekend of the group stage.
Stage 3.
And, obviously, right now in Group A, you've got Toronto at 4-0, Dallas at 2-1, and the rest of the teams are 1-2, and then Paris is 1-3. Yeah. And then on the Group B side, it's a very mixy situation as well. LA Thieves is 3-1. You've got OpTic 2-1, FaZe 2-1, New York 2-1, London 1-3, Seattle 0-3. So there's a lot of potential shifts here with what could happen and how teams could end up finishing here in the bracket. So it should be a fun time. All right. So first matchup of the weekend is LAG versus Minnesota. Rex, take us away. What are your thoughts?
I mean, we all say LAG is the most, or at least to me, it seemed like a very technical team. Not exactly slaying heavy, but they play COD correctly, I guess you could say. Maybe slowly, but they are speeding it up. But I still think Minnesota's just going to have the advantage here. I think Stanley's going to be too much of a menace on the map for them. Attached will be playing well. Yeah, I'm going to see a Minnesota 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, the worry about Minnesota was that loss to the Mutineers like a few days ago or last week, I guess, was really just confusing. They got 3-1 by the Mutineers and just played terrible in the series. And then they end up getting 3-1 by Toronto after they made that insane comeback on Raid in map 1. And after that comeback, I mean, basically they got smoked in the S&D. They got smoked in the Apocalypse hardpoint. I don't know, man. It's a weird situation right now for the Rokkr. They don't match up well against Toronto because like their best map's probably Raid. Is the Rocker's best map's probably Raid. That's also the Ultra's best map. So it's a tough situation, and it puts them into some tough map selections. With that said, though, Guerillas, similar situation where you see that their best map is Raid, probably the 3 best Raid teams. So I don't know. I'm a little bit torn on what could happen. I could see this being a 3-2, and I'm just not confident right now that that's the case. But basically, my thing has been is if I'm not confident, I should be a little bit more confident with Minnesota. And it's the opposite effects. You're kind of like Rex and New York right now. So I'm gonna go Minnesota 3-1 as well. But it's a little interesting. This could be a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was very encouraged with LAG's performance.
Yeah, I mean, they lost 3-2 to Empire. But before that, they got 3-0'd by the Ultra. Of course, they beat the Legion in Chino's debut.
Part of me wants to say 3-2 LAG, honestly. Is that crazy?
Didn't you just last week with Empire as well? You picked. Oh,
I did.
Oh, hey. Oh, it's hat time, boys. It's hat time. Woo! This time, look what we rocking this time. Ooh. Yeesh. Those were some stanky picks, man.
The poop emoji.
Yikes.
It's on my head.
Dude, come on, bro.
It's on my head.
Yes, because you had LAG last week with Empire.
Which, to be fair, it was a 3-2.
It went 3-2. You were right about I guess in that situation, it was closer than we thought it was going to be, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is Dallas good or is LAG bad? Is Dallas bad or is LAG good?
I know. But then even with the Ultra 1-2, they had the lead in the hard point. They're up like 4-1 in the S&D.
Yeah, true. And it went round 11 on Express.
Yeah. You know what?
They got smoked in the control, though, obviously.
They did. My gut is telling me 3-2.
Why people keep playing the Guerillas on Raid control? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Dumb.
But yeah,
this could be 3-2.
My gut's telling me 3-2.
Wait, you're going LAG 3-2.
I am.
Ho!
Wow.
You're gonna regret that one.
Probably. We need some spicy takes on here.
I mean, you were going out there. I respect it.
I am.
I respect it. Okay, so we got our first hot fire matchup of the week.
Oh,
New York versus
So
Chicago
tasty.
and Rex. I mean, I'm interested to see what you have to say. Obviously, this has been so far. When you believe in New York, they lose. When you don't believe in them, they win. So do you believe in them?
At this point, I'm just going to always believe in them because you just can never underestimate.
Solid.
And now they're playing OpTic Chicago, which is like, a great team. It's the team people want to beat. It's
Are
OpTic.
they?
So New York, I feel like if there's going to be a game that they're going to have fire in their belly, they just lost to Ravens. They can't lose any more games.
5-0 in respawn stage 3.
So
Who?
I'm
Subliners.
I'm going 3-1 New York.
5-0 hard point. Sorry.
You're going 3-1 New York. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Hydra's been nasty in hard points. It's been crazy.
But
right now you look at this.
Also going to have the fire because it seems like there's this
If
weird
OpTic's winning
animosity
this,
with
it's
Clay that they have.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
What was that stat, by the way?
One OpTic's not going to want to lose.
I agree.
OpTic's respawn record against the top 7 teams in stage 2 is 3-11.
Right. Yeah.
Like
I'll be interested to see what control map they play in this series.
The control is going to be the swing map.
Because, I mean, realistically, you favor the Subliners in both hard points, and you favor OpTic in both S&Ds heavily. So it comes down to who wins this control, and that'll probably decide if it's a 3-1 New York or a 3-2 OpTic. I mean, very possibly. Again, this is in the ideal COD scenarios, which barely happens at this point this year.
Right. You would imagine Subliners are going to veto raid control. They're 3-6.
Yeah.
And then they're 1-1 Garrison, and they're 6-6 on Checkmate.
I mean,
and you probably don't want to play Checkmate.
Right, and you don't want to play raid against OpTic.
So probably Garrison?
Probably Garrison.
Yeah.
And at that point, I mean, how many times has OpTic even played Garrison? They're 0-1. They just played their 0-1 in Garrison.
So they'll probably veto that then.
Then they'll play Checkmate.
And they're both even on that.
They'll probably play Checkmate then.
Yeah. Probably Checkmate.
Though which favors New York, I think, in my head.
I think so too. I mean, New York's attack is better than their defense.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I might go New York 3-1 here. Truly.
That's really tough.
New York.
The thing is at this point, it's like, I've been so reactionary with OpTic. Like, okay, they finally showed me this. Now I'm going to pick them. So I think now I think I need to just do a better job of kind of anticipating Chicago's motivation here. These are must-win matchups. At this point, if you expect Chicago to show up, they're going to show up for the last day on these huge matchups against a team like New York. I think they're going to beat them 3-2.
Here's the thing. They got to prep for New York, and they have to prep for FaZe.
Right. Although New York's on day 1, FaZe is on Sunday. So they'll have a little bit of time in buffer in there. So it should be a little interesting. But yeah, I'm going to go Chicago 3-2. This is a spicy series. Rex, I don't feel good about it, but I'll be willing to put a bet down on this just for the ho-hum of it.
Okay, what's the bet? You tell me.
It's a bet. And we'll decide on it after this. We really need to come up with a good, unless we just want to do a profile picture thing again here, but
we gotta get like something tasty. We can't.
We need better bets.
We can't have some
because now me and Sam got this good hat thing going on. I've been enjoying this.
Bets. We gotta have some real good bets.
Comfy. I like it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I agree, Rex. Okay.
I think we do one where it's like we do a podcast, shirtless.
That is no.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous.
Oh man, I mean.
We do the
as much as the viewers would appreciate that, you know, I mean, I'm sure they're all like, yes, do it, please. I want it. No.
You have to, so if New York wins, you have to dump water on your face and you have to sing the first line of that song. It's like, New York.
Oh my God.
You guys sing like the first line or just sing the chorus while you pour water on your face.
I don't want to get my floors wet. Okay,
you can do it in the shower.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair. Yeah. Okay. There's a bet here, but we'll have to figure that out later. All right, Seattle versus Atlanta.
It's probably going to be a hot 3-0, I think.
At this point, it's so tough. I mean, I don't know, man. It's Decimate's first time. I can't rule out Seattle right now.
I'm going to do 3-1. FaZe hasn't been themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll go Atlanta 3-1 on this one too.
I'm going to go Atlanta 3-2.
Oh.
We're going to say Seattle comes out. They show something new. You don't really know what you're getting with Seattle yet. Atlanta's not going to know what's going on. They might lose an S&D.
Element of surprise.
And then, they come out shooting on all cylinders, take Atlanta to another game 5. Atlanta ices in game 5s because they never lose game 5s, it feels like. Rarely. Unless it's LAG.
Honestly.
And so we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of an interesting matchup because it's Decimate's debut, but it's hard to imagine Seattle pulls it out. But we've seen crazier this year, so who knows? Dallas v Florida is their next matchup here. This is also spicy.
It is spicy.
It really is.
Huke's old team versus Huke's new team here.
On loan. You heard it here.
Where are you at with this one, Rex? What are your thoughts?
Man, the thing is, like, Empire seemed to be just like declining. I don't think they got much better with Fellow. They still are like eking out wins, it feels like. And Florida seems like a team that just the raw firepower Florida has, it might be too much.
Right? I mean, since Dallas, Dallas is 0-2, or they're 1-1 since bringing in Fellow, obviously 3-0'd by Ultra in his first match, and then eked by the Guerillas 3-2 after being down 2-1 after the control match. So, also they got 3-0'd on that raid. That was a dominant performance from LAG on that raid, by the way. Man, it's not easy because again, last time we saw Florida, it wasn't very impressive either. Sam, where are you at with this?
I'm still favoring Dallas here. Part of the reason I think, I don't know.
It's so tough because Mutineers, they beat Florida. The Mutineers, they beat the Rokkr, and then they get smoked by the Legion. Yeah. Of course, Neptune did disconnect, so you didn't get a full look at it, but they had the lead at that point. So I don't know. It wasn't an ideal situation either. Man, I'm gonna lean Dallas. Dallas. I'm not gonna be more confident than a 3-2 though for Dallas. Yeah, I'm going 3-2.
I think it'd be hard to say 3-1 Dallas, honestly.
Alrighty, Rex?
3-2.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking about matchups, and Awakening's just going to be a monster against these guys. Because I think he's just going to be better, but I think the Neptune versus Shotzzy, I think I favor Shotzzy.
Yeah, the last time they played was the middle of stage 2, their fourth match of stage 2 when Dallas 3-0'd them. That was with Huke, obviously, back then. So a lot's changed since then. That was with Slacks as well. So, there's not much to take away from that.
I think it really comes down to like Havoc and ILLeY. I think I'm going to favor ILLeY in this one. I'm also going to do a Dallas 3-2.
Yeah, it's hard to be confident in that match. That's a really tough match to pick with so many new variables right now, and not much data to go off of either team, with mixed results. So, Paris versus Toronto here. Again, at this point, Toronto has showed us zero signs of slowing down. They have continued to prove me wrong. I was skeptical. Insight has continued to look great. I mean, he has dominated, and they were on a 9-map win streak, finally ended by the Rokkr's insane comeback on raid, basically because of a really chalked rotation it was so bad. I literally, when I was watching it, I'm like, what is Toronto? What is this? They were playing a perfect map, and then suddenly just collapsed. Like, what? Yeah. Then Ultra come back. They win the next 3. They have lost one of their last 12 maps. Or one of their last 13 maps. They're 12-1. Insane. And if you date that back to the major, they're on an unprecedented run right now of victories. So
yeah, it's most impressive.
Toronto, I'll give Paris a map. I'll give Paris a map. I'll go Toronto 3-1. At this point, I'm just being nice to London or to Paris. Although to be fair, again, Paris, they looked solid in that Mutineers series. It's either a 3-0 or a 3-1. I'm going to give them a map. I'll go 3-1.
Yeah, I think when you heard Temp and Skrapz on the flank, they're saying like they're just fighting for that one win. They're just fighting just to get the win. And it seemed like, I don't know. I definitely think the players on Paris are like, they're good players, but to be like, when they're straight up asked, what is your game plan for Toronto? Debatably the best team in the game right now, and they're just like, we'll just keep doing our thing. I'm like, well, you can't keep doing your thing.
This is a 3-0 because Paris's best map's probably raid. It's hard to imagine this not being a 3-0.
Yeah, I just don't.
Which means that Paris will probably win at this point with how the CDL's going. Sorry, I saw the tags of the hat like dangling, and I just started laughing. That's just comedy.
No, you're good.
But yeah, I agree with you. It's a tough situation to be in for them.
It is hard, and when you look at like the trajectory of like both teams, it just seems Ultra is just way too. I don't know. It's just gonna be a 3-0 honestly.
For sure. It's gonna be interesting. So, all right, New York versus LA Thieves, another big old juicy matchup here.
It's a rematch too.
A rematch, yeah, which gets interesting.
I think the last time they played, LA Thieves beat them 3-0 in the major.
In the major, yeah. Yep. So it definitely gets interesting. They most recently played, it was the major and they got knocked out. Thoughts on this, man? This gets really interesting. So obviously the Subliners last 2 matches, like we said, they beat Surge 3-0. They lost to London 3-2. They beat FaZe 3-2 since they lost to Thieves in the major before their switch with Hydra. So since Hydra's joined in, they looked great in respawns. The question is, what maps do you play LAT on and have teams learned to not play Checkmate against LA Thieves? Don't do it. Why are you playing Checkmate against LA Thieves, OpTic?
You never know. It could happen.
Oh, to be fair, OpTic was undefeated on the map up until that point, so I don't blame him for ego challenging him on that map.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they hadn't played it since I think what Merc said, like mid-February. I can't even remember at this point. But anyway, long story short. All right, Rex, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, New York's gonna be coming out with a vengeance on this one. Like, they clearly had a bad series in the major. Like, both their losses. Like, they were just playing horrendously, and they knew it. And I think we all knew, like, that was not the New York that is gonna be what we see. So I'm going New York 3-1. No way is LA Thieves getting a 3-0. No chance. But I really think New York is going to take it 3-1. Like, they're going to be coming in hot, especially with the respawns. Like, LA Thieves been looking good in respawn, but I think New York is going to have, I guess, a bigger brain on their shoulders, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely going to come in and not underestimate them this time. That's for sure. Sam, where are you on this bandwagon?
My thoughts here are look at the matchups. One really interesting is Kenny v Clay, because I think they are both phenomenal ARs right now. But then you have to figure
you trust the SMGs of
you have to favor the SMG presence of New York more. So it depends on maps they play. Yeah,
you have to veto Checkmate here.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, though, is that do you trust New York on maps that aren't Checkmate right now? And I mean, we've seen them play pretty well on like Moscow against Surge and Moscow against London. So maybe that could work for them. You know, we've seen them look pretty good on Garrison Hardpoint against FaZe as well.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, Hydra's been asking all hardpoints though. So the question mark really is controls. And the only one they won was Raid, but you ain't playing Raid against LA Thieves. No. So you have to play a Checkmate or a Garrison, but you know, you either have to play Garrison or Checkmate against LA Thieves. I'm sorry, Raid or Checkmate against LA Thieves, and it gets really tough. So you probably have to play them on Raid, and you don't want to play them on Raid though. That's the thing. And so, and then you go down to S&Ds, and you pick Thieves in the S&Ds right now. I think I'm gonna go Toronto 3-2.
You mean?
Well, that's a curveball.
LA Thieves 3-2.
Tro's gonna come in.
I said that so seriously too. I was like, Toronto 3-2.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I'm gonna go LA Thieves 3-2.
Oh man,
clutch up in the S&D, man. Round 5, devastating loss for New York, but
I think I still favor New York.
This is where I buy into the hype of LAT, and then the better, historically better team plays their best COD and beats them.
So you're just down on New York in general.
No,
you
I'm
have
high
Chicago
on
beating them. You have LA Thieves beating them. Ravens just beat them.
I'm just not convinced that they're going to be able to fix their S&D in a week, and it looked really, really bad. That's the big question. So I have them losing 3-2 in both the matchups. That's the problem right now. So
we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, well, yeah, we'll definitely see. I mean, they beat Seattle, a team that was about to change their team 3-0, but like whoop-de-doo, you know? So that's why it's hard for me to say otherwise. And we've seen it from LA Thieves at this point. So, all right. LAG versus Florida.
Spicy one, too.
Another spicy one. Very fun. What do you believe about LAG? Do you believe in the Cheen?
You know, at some point, I got to buy into LAG.
But that means you're doubting Florida.
I mean, a little bit. Like I don't want to doubt Florida because, like, you look at it and you're like, they're great, but then they don't win anything.
Right.
But LAG does eke out wins. They have almost closer matches and just feels like they're more competitive sometimes. I feel like the organization of LAG is going to be too much for the Mutineers. Mutineers will win just sheer off slaying power if they do. I'm going to go LAG. I'm going to do it. LAG.
I could use circular.
LAG could win this one 3-2.
Yeah, I could use circular reasoning here and be like, I have LAG winning 3-2 versus Minnesota. Florida just beat Minnesota. So maybe Florida beats LAG.
It would make sense for how the league's going.
Except Paris just beat Florida, and LAG beat Paris. So reverse circular reasoning.
It doesn't work. Man. Yeah, it's just
matchups wise, game modes. It's like these are the types of games where Florida just out talents another team, like where you don't need to be technically sound because they can just use their talent to out talent them. And I think that's where Florida has their success generally, but Paris has just had their number this year, and that's the biggest question mark. Is Paris is 3-1 against Florida now this year, and then Florida beat the Rokkr 3-1. Oh, man, this is a toss-up. This is the definition of a toss-up match. It could go either way.
I feel like LAG is a team that can know to shut down Awakening. Like, they know how to do it.
How does one do this?
I don't know.
You shoot.
I'm not a
You
pro.
trade kills better. I mean, it comes down to how effectively can you set up and play discipline to be in consistent positions, to time your pushes and trade kills. And at the end of the day, LAG can do that well. I'm going to go Florida 3-1 because 3-2 doesn't feel good because realistically, LAG probably is favored in a 3-2.
Oh.
I feel horrible about this one, though. This is 51-49, you know? Probably the closest match of the whole weekend.
I'm going with Rex here, 3-2 LAG.
Yeah.
I'm high at LAG this week.
Yeah, it gets really interesting. So it doesn't stop getting interesting because we got London versus Seattle up next. So we got Decimate's another match here where Decimate's here, and after playing Atlanta, he didn't get really a fair shake, in his first go.
Oh yeah.
So now with Decimate versus London, this is really, really interesting and such a tough match to pick. You've got London, who played so well in their last match here, and they looked really great in both these matchups this weekend against New York and against FaZe, taking them 3-2. So where are you at with this one? Can Decimate make it happen for Seattle, or does London Zaptius? Do they play well again?
No,
I'm still high on London. I think London they're a scary team. I think Seattle making that one change with Decimate is not going to be their 360 turnaround. London seems like on a very high trajectory to me. I want London 3-1 on this one.
I don't have enough confidence to go 3-1.
Don't forget about the power of the
honeymoon
phase.
But there's not really
don't
a
underestimate.
I feel like with this pickup. There'll be obviously somewhat of one.
We should call it Rule 69. Don't underestimate the honeymoon.
Completely new
Don't
guy
underestimate.
Rule 69, don't underestimate the honeymoon. I'm taking Seattle 3-2. They're going to clutch up in a S&D game 5, baby. They're going to lose the control for sure. They're going to win. I don't know, because they're going to lose the first. They always lose hard point 1. Oh, man. Sam, take this pressure off me.
Well, I'm doing Seattle 3-2. So if you want to deviate, you certainly can. But I think this team will get better with Decimate on the roster. How much better? That's obviously still
in
to
a
be
week
determined. But
you're underestimating Paul and Zaptius, I think.
Well, no,
and
right. It's like the trajectory of improvement for London, where it's like they're taking big steps here.
Yeah.
After now 2 weeks of practice, or 2.5 weeks of practice, versus a week of Seattle. Man, that's tough. Yeah, I'm gonna go London because map 1 you have to favor London. So then it's like you favor them in the control as well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go London 3-2 and hedge my bets a little bit, but realistically, London 3-1 is just as likely. So that's close. That's really, really close. And a tough bet for sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, Chicago versus Atlanta. Another spicy one. And then we finish off with Minnesota and Dallas. Another spicy one. There's just great matchups just littered through this weekend.
Sunday will be great.
It's going to be awesome. So, all right. Thoughts here. Chicago versus Atlanta. I mean, I don't have enough faith in Chicago to pick them at this point. There's no way. Right?
No. I mean,
0-2
For some
the
reason, I
week.
think Chicago's going to come out with a little bit of a vengeance
And
on
play
this one.
play their best COD they played in a while. It's very possible.
Yeah, I think they're going to play the best COD they played in a while, but I think it's going to be an Atlanta 3-2.
Atlanta 3-2. Yeah, that's where I'm going with it as well.
See, I'm thinking 3-1. I don't know why I put 2.
3-1 for sure for Atlanta or Chicago.
Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Because like you almost wonder if it goes to game 5,
S&Ds.
if you favor
That's true.
OpTic, you know.
Good point. You
but-
would favor OpTic in a game 5. I don't even know why I would have thought that in the first place. Yeah, because I mean, you have to favor Atlanta in control. You got to favor Atlanta in the hard points.
Mhm.
Can OpTic win? This is a winnable series for OpTic. It's not like it's not. They can
is.
play their best COD and come out and show up. But yeah, it's like you just look at those matches across the board, game mode to game mode, and you do favor Atlanta in all 3 of them right now. And so it's like, well, it except for S&D, and I meant like 3 of them in the respawns. So yeah, I'll go Atlanta 3-1 as well. You're right. I like that. So all right, Dallas versus Minnesota for our last match of the weekend. Are we pushing the 2-hour mark? Have we hit the 2 hour? We're really close. This is actually one of our longest episodes of all time.
We're at hour 50.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow.
All right, Minnesota versus Dallas right here.
Can Minnesota beat Dallas for a 3rd time?
Again. I think they can.
Do you
I
think
they
so?
can.
I think they can too, to be honest.
I'm going to go Minnesota 3-2. I like the odds clutching up an Insertion Destroyer here in a game 5. I mean, again, although we have seen with the ice is that Dallas seems a little still to be pretty icy.
Mhm.
Although you're going up against the Iceman here, but as a whole, you know, it does get interesting. It gets a little mixy. This should be a fun series, and it could go either way as well. This is a crazy weekend of matchups. But Sam, what are your thoughts?
Part of me wants to use that reasoning of it's tough to beat a team just as my sole basis for it. But
I mean, they haven't played in a while now. It was the quarterfinals, right, of the major, I think.
But you do favor Minnesota. Like it just Dallas just seemed to be on a very shaky.
Right. Dallas won 2 round 11s against them in the major. They won 6-5 on Raid and then 6-5 on Miami in the team kill situation there for the Rokkr.
Right.
Yeah. I might almost do Minnesota 3-1. I just don't have a ton of confidence in Dallas at the moment.
Yeah, because right now the series is 2-1 Rokkr on the season, so it gets tough. I think, I'm pretty confident in a Rokkr win here, honestly. Feeling pretty good about that. I'm going to go Rokkr 3-2. Rex, where are you going with?
I'm going Rokkr 3-2 on this one also.
Okay. Join the club. That's a fun one, man. This was a crazy week. We have a lot of different picks. This might be our probably most differentiated picks probably of the whole year so far. It's been pretty different. So that was a fun discussion, boys. So obviously this is quite literally going to be our longest episode of all time. So let's get into Intelligent or Irrelevant. Let's get it.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
All righty, Sam. Knock our socks off. What was the vote today?
The vote today is
It's involving Group A or Group B, right?
Group B. Here we go.
Okie dokie.
Give me your answers. Who is winning Group B? FaZe, OpTic, Subliners, Thieves.
Alrighty. I mean, I'd imagine people said FaZe.
I imagine.
Very likely be the leading answer. Maybe you have some Thieves hype at this point. I'll be interested to see who ends up going the hot take contrarian with.
Honestly, I don't know.
With Thieves, but yeah, I would imagine that's going to be the leading answer there. All right, fire away. What's the?
Should I vote Subliners?
Vote OpTic, honestly. I think people probably lowest on OpTic at this point.
FaZe, 36%.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Not as much as I thought.
OpTic, 26%.
Wow.
Subliners, 21%.
Wow.
Thieves, 17%.
Dang. People be doubting.
Wow.
I know. So only 3 comments. So Hogan Sky says choice F, Seattle.
I love it. I love it.
Word.
We have Munchie 902. I want OpTic too, but I think work will be unstoppable. Settle in with Hydra.
Okay. All right.
And Oliver the J, Surge. You're a bunch of
Two
trolls.
Surge votes.
A lot of Surge fans. Oddly enough, I feel like the Surge fan base is pretty good.
They do a good job.
Irrelevant.
Even last year,
That was irrelevant.
Surge has like good fans.
They do.
And they like have
I think
been bad both years so far.
Yeah.
And, like, but they still got their fans. Like they got the most like hyped
But
up
see, like
fans.
they're like the most like dedicated. Where it's like you like a bad team.
Yeah,
And it's
you
okay.
respect that, you know? Because right
Yeah.
now it's like for most other teams don't really have like that like hardcore fan base. But
yet.
Surge actually do have a little bit of that. Maybe that's
They
because of
do.
Octane. Octane does have quite the fan base, so that could probably be it as well. But
Facts.
alrighty, well, this is like quite literally going down as our longest episode of all time, I think. Unless I shave off a few minutes in the editing process, maybe to help it a little bit, but we'll see. So that's a fun one, boys. What are you watching this weekend?
I'm still watching The Last Kingdom. Oh, but you know what I've been watching?
Ooh,
we
what?
got Discovery
What?
Plus, and we've been watching the
Gold
history
Rush.
of the world. I think it was with Andrew Marr or something.
Oh,
Super cool. It like talks about like the first man, like the first era. Then each episode is an hour long, and then each episode like talks about the next era in line. So like first man, and then
like
whatever the
ancient civilizations and stuff like that.
ancient civilizations. It goes like Cleopatra. We just finished up Vikings, and yeah, you got to check it out. It's really cool. So we're
That's
talking
cool.
about Constantinople, Istanbul. We're up to that point now.
Yeah, good vibes.
Nice.
Things like, see, Sam, what are you watching?
I'm watching Quantico season 2.
The what? Who?
Quantico.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard of it,
Nope.
but basically it's like an FBI thriller.
What's it on?
Netflix.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Quality.
Yeah.
Quality.
So
Um,
pretty good.
What am I watching? Oh, The Bad Batch.
Oh, I can't wait
That's
for that.
coming out tonight. Star
Yeah.
Wars, the animated show.
Huh.
But you know, it's all canon stuff. Basically, a continuation of Clone Wars stories, and so gonna be pretty cool. I think it's gonna be talking about Order 66 and the fallout after episode 3. So pretty dope. I'm excited. You know, me, and some Star Wars love. I mean, things love to see. So
Can't wait.
there it is for the podcast, boys. Drop all your comments down below. Drop a review on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you guys, of course, for supporting the show and sticking with us even through the whole wild season. So again, we really do appreciate it. But like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you guys really enjoyed it. But as always, guys, I'm Josh. Wait, I'm SalvationsElite.
You're
To
not
my right is
Josh.
Bash_Bo3. To our farthest right is Rex, ShadyNero, and guys, this has been the best 3 Call of Esports podcast, and we will see you next time. We out.